Yeah, starting over.
This one should be better than the first try.
Yeah. We didn't get far into it. But you know what? Sometimes when you're going to talk to millions of people on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're consuming this, you just don't start right. And you got to.
I know it's the millions of people that gets me. I get nervous sometimes.
I don't get nervous, but I do feel the weight of the responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we do speak to so much of America.
To like 50 people.
Yeah. Which, right. There's like maybe 400 Americans, so.
What do you said you didn't really make a good drink. Let me try.
Yeah. I was going for Kentucky Mule, and it's mainly the ginger beer, so.
Kentucky Mule is ginger beer and whiskey?
Bourbon,
okay.
and ideally lime, but I didn't do the lime part, so.
Okay.
Whatever.
I mean, that Fever Tree ginger beer is good no matter what.
It is really good.
It's the best.
But it's mainly ginger ale, what we're drinking, or ginger beer. Anyway, let's talk about our musical week.
All right, let's talk about a musical week. Who starts today?
Yeah, gosh, let's start with the fact that you were out of town for most of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were it was in Glenwood Springs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And you got to take the train.
Yeah, I took the train up.
Which must have been nice. How did they go through Winter Park? Did they just go like up and around? Or?
They go through 27 tunnels.
Whoa.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh gosh, that's so fun. I wish I would have gone.
Yeah, we'll have to do it sometime.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So, instead of, we were talking last week about how we've been down I-70 a few times. Going into the mountains. And
this was not down I-70 at all.
Yeah, and the train apparently went...
Yeah, I mean, it went up the Front Range. Like, we could see that we went west to Arvada and then headed north a little bit and then went up into the mountains.
Wow.
Yeah, so no cell service almost the whole way.
I bet, with all the tunnels in the mountains and
just not being on I-70.
Yeah.
I was in a car that was all reserved for the people in this conference that I was attending.
Right.
So someone brought Jaeger shots. We caught the train at 8:15 in the morning. I did not partake, but that's the mood on the train. I mostly just caught up with my friend Luke.
Yeah, right.
Because we hadn't seen each other in a while.
And the retreat was for EOA, which we have talked about before.
Yeah, EOA being the Entrepreneurs Organization Accelerator Program.
Right.
To help you get into EO.
Right.
Which you need a big business to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was their annual retreat. So it was EO members and EOA members all together.
Right.
At the Hotel Colorado, that gorgeous hotel that's on the north side of I-70 right at Glenwood Springs.
Right, I've never been in it, but
yeah. It's gorgeous. And
well, you sent that picture of the hallways are crazy wide.
Yeah. Well, on the second floor, there's a Roosevelt suite. You walk up these wide, the grand staircase, and there's the suite that President Roosevelt stayed in, Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh my gosh.
For some period of time.
Yeah.
And went hunting. Anyway, it was Tuesday through Friday, Tuesday night through Friday morning. And there were, classes and speakers and activities and a lot of networking and stuff.
And you said it wound up being, I don't know if inspiring is the word, but you...
It was. I think that's a good word.
Yeah.
That's a good word. Business, I'm not going to sound like, I don't know, all she here, but business owners don't hang out with other business owners that often.
Well, that's a good point. It's like guitar players.
Right.
Yeah.
Business owners hang out with their employees.
Right.
Their vendors, their suppliers.
Right.
And so I hang out with musicians and students and employees, bandmates, but I rarely hang out with other entrepreneurs.
Right.
And so I spent all week hanging out with entrepreneurs at various levels. Some people who were, they're just building their business. Some people who have had healthy big businesses for a long time. And it just raised my level of thinking. And it was in a very immeasurable way. It's just the way I described it to you was, when things were really hard years ago, I felt like I was not walking tall because the ceiling was right over my head. Like I just felt
Yeah.
I felt like the ceiling was really low over me.
Right.
And then as things have gotten better the last few years, I feel like the ceiling has gotten high above me. This felt like the sky opened over me.
Well, that sounds like it was a very worthwhile trip.
It was inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this, what this manifests into.
Right. Yeah.
Good stuff. Unfortunately, I'm not continuing with EOA because
Right.
I'm switching to a different business development program called Build a Music School.
Right.
Yeah, which is very directed, obviously, for music school owners. So that's run by a guy out of New Zealand named Johnny Wilson.
Which you've shown me some of that stuff, and it's incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just...
Both programs are top-notch. Absolutely top-notch. And I'm going to regret leaving.
Sure.
Maybe I'll go back someday.
Well, and maybe once you've gotten the BAMS stuff,
Yeah.
build a music school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's always those opportunities,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah.
It was...
It fit in nicely. I didn't have any gigs this weekend. Well, that's not true. I didn't have any evening gigs this weekend. I had a morning gig and an afternoon gig today.
Right. Right, because you did your church, your Journey Church
Journey
bass
Church
gig.
this morning, and then I had just enough time to go grocery shopping, and then I had the Youth and Acoustic Showcase for Performance High this afternoon.
Right, which you said went
It went great.
great.
Yeah, everyone sang really well. We had a new student whose family moved here from Venezuela 5 months ago.
Wow.
They do not speak English at all. My Spanish is very rusty, but I was trying to do my best that when I was talking about like the next student up, who was Valeria Pitre, that I was like speaking both in Spanish and English. But oh my gosh, it's so rusty. So rusty.
What did she sing?
She sang a couple of Latino songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think one was by Selena. She
right.
had a huge voice, and she's 12 years old. I told you, she's 12. She looks 16. She sounds like she's 20. A huge presence, huge voice. Like, whoa. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Some of the people that come through, it's just amazing, the talent sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we sold out the place, which for Doghouse, in that arrangement is 50 people.
And it was a Doghouse Music, which
Yeah.
we've talked about before. It's next to the Performance High Brimfield location. Not
Yeah.
next to, but it's in the same part of
It's
Colorado.
probably even closer to Nisi's.
You're right. It is closer to
Like a
Nisi's.
half
It's very
mile from
close
Nisi's,
to Nisi's.
yeah.
Yeah. So you were up in that part of town. How was the bass gig in the morning?
It was just fine. I could hear myself better than usual for some reason. I don't know what was different.
Right.
I felt very comfortable.
Who was
pretty
on
well.
that one?
Ryan Elwood was on drums.
Oh, great.
Mark Grautis, who's normally at a different location, was there subbing for someone who had the flu.
Okay.
You wouldn't probably know anybody else that was on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ryan and I got to hang out a little bit.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different location than Chris Bloom usually works at?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, so
Yeah.
because they have two campuses.
three.
Three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have Castle Pines,
Yeah.
Highlands Ranch, and Parker.
Okay.
And I have played at all three. I've been at Parker mostly lately. That's the brand new location.
Right.
And Chris
okay.
works in the Castle Pines location.
Okay, yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, I mean, nothing really to report. I just continue to get more and more comfortable and find more and more space opening up in my brain to be present and, polish things. The music is not hard.
Right. No, it's
So,
it's
it's
pretty-
great paid rehearsal.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And I guess going back to Saturday, so yesterday, just yesterday.
I know. It seems crazy.
Wow, it was lively at the Performance High Denver location.
I was thinking that you were sort of getting your wish of you're always trying to build community and talking about making it a real place.
Yeah.
And man, the studio building was just a hive of activity.
Yeah.
It felt like Performance High's building.
Yeah.
I mean, not in any
Yeah.
negative way, but like just all the rooms were full. There were classes, there were rehearsals. I was recording all day. It was just, you were passing people in the halls and,
At the same time, we had lessons, a band rehearsal, a music business class, and a recording session going on.
Yeah.
Like that's the picture of it. That is the that's
picture.
the vision.
I was really struck by it. I was like, wow, this is what you've been working towards and building. And I was really, it was just and you could feel the there was a little bit of electricity.
Man, if we could just get our own building where there's actually a common area,
right,
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And it might be a little bit of a venue. Oh.
Yeah. At the same time, the sound structure building is starting to be, you've got enough rooms there that it's starting to feel very, and I could feel that people felt very at home. Like people were just kind of in and out, and they were like walking around, and you could tell people were, it wasn't that kind of thing where people are like, wait, where do I go? I'm not sure. It was like people who had been there a bunch of times, and they're just like, this is a home away from home. Like
that's great.
Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, so that was pretty fun. Speaking of that recording session, it was the final recording session for my client, Jenna Spriggs, who is out of Riverton, Wyoming, which is 7 hours away. And we got to go have dinner with her and her husband. Oddly enough, we had Venezuelan food. So interesting that came up twice. It was the final session for that, and we were just tying off. We were finishing up a few final vocals, and then I found a way of recording guitar that's slightly different, and it was just sounding so much better that we redid all the acoustic guitars for the whole record.
Whoa.
Jenna is like one of those rock solid performers who just does it the way they do it. And it's going to be basically that way every time. And there's basically never going to be a mistake or, you know what I mean? It's not, the flip side of that is like, she's actually very good at being fluid. So if you have an idea and you're like, hey, could you hold that note longer? Or we had this idea when we were retracking the lead vocals where it's like, well, that little, nah is actually the hook. So why don't you just do that little line as an ad-lib during the guitar solo, and then on the outro, why don't you throw that in again just to kind of like keep hammering that little hooky thing. And she's able to think on the fly really quickly, but as far as like doing the parts she's practiced, she just is gonna, it's one of those people. I was talking recently, some people, it's in terms of recording vocals, you can have as many tries as you want, but there are certain people where it's like there's not really a point in doing a bunch of tries because it's going to be pretty much the same every time. And so our method was usually doing 3 takes, which is not much for me, and then going back through those 3 takes and picking through them and making sure we had everything we wanted. And then if there was a line or two where we were like, let's just redo that. But it was, we were able to work really quickly. And
good.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things that I figured out was in my room was being able to get the mic further away from the acoustic guitar, which really mitigated the problem with guitar players with acoustic guitars is that they move.
Yeah.
That they physically won't stay still. No knock on anybody. Everybody does it. I do it when I record myself. It's just a very difficult thing to do. But, the further the mic is away from the sound source, the less it matters if you're moving an inch or two.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's very close, it kind of matters a lot that you might move an inch or two.
Yeah.
So that made it possible for us to just get like this way better acoustic sound, and like I said, we just knocked out the whole record again,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Good. And then you were telling me you have like, besides Eric's project, you have like 3 others that you're working on now.
Yeah, 3 or 4 other things. Finally getting a jump on the Christmas album thing that happens every year.
Yeah.
We're finally doing it early this year with Caitlin Klickman. She's got a Christmas album that we're currently working on, and just a bunch of other stuff. A new kind of indie rock singer-songwriter young woman that I'm very excited about. So, yeah, things are just clipping along.
That's great.
You know, while you were out of town, I was lucky enough to get to guest coach. I don't know if it was guest coach. I filled in coaching.
Oh yeah.
One of the performance high bands, and that was a great experience too. I mean, that was fun. We were choosing the songs and who was going to do what part, because what's interesting about the performance high band, at least for now, is that they're doing a lot of switching around, meaning everybody's getting lead vocals. You know, so they're trading off on who's doing the lead, they're trading off on who's doing the harmonies, you know, guitars, bass, drums, and everybody's playing different roles, which I think is such a great development thing.
Yeah. But it does make things a little complicated.
Right. So we were kind of having to kick through those decisions of like, you know, A, what songs do you guys want to do? B, who's going to play what on what?
Yeah.
And then kind of, you know, move through that. But it was great, and we got to play. You know, we played through a few tunes, and you know,
Yeah.
great
Thanks for doing that.
great group of people.
Oh, yeah.
As always.
Yeah.
I mean, performance high people are just, we're very lucky
are
that
the
they
best.
are the best.
Because we have good values, we have good people, so we just attract good people.
It really is true. I mean, it's just everybody's great.
Created my little world the way I want it to be.
Yeah. Well, and I got to hang out with Brian Smith because he is in that band a little more, and he's done showcases before, and we've of course talked a little bit, but he used to be my neighbor in Studio 2. Wasn't he in Studio 2 for a while?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Right.
So we used to rent.
Right.
You know.
He's a student at Performance High, but he also used to rent Studio 2.
For rehearsing.
From us, yeah.
And so we would bump into each other, but, you know, we actually had to play some music together, so that was fun. Yeah. You know.
Cool.
Yeah, and gosh, can't think of anything else.
I think that is about it. What's coming up? Do we have any gigs? Do we have any gigs?
We do not have Petty Nick's gigs for, well, it's not that far away now, but June 8th is the next one, so...
Couple weeks away. We've got a sub. I think Adam's playing keys on that.
Right. And I'm feeling fine with that. Like, I'm not, I don't have an itchy...
Oh, about the being a couple weeks before we
being
play
a
again.
couple weeks. I mean,
yeah, me too. I mean, I counted. I have 40 gigs on my calendar this year.
Right.
And I'm sure that will come up to 50 by the time the year's over, if not 60 or 70. So I am totally fine with not having any gigs.
Yeah, it's really, you know,
Next
we've
weekend.
talked about for years, you know, I will get itchy without performing, but it feels like lately it's been, this is a good frequency, you know.
Yeah, and Cody's going to get busier too. We've got
Cody is
a few
definitely
gigs
getting
in a row with
busier.
him.
Yeah, and Cody and I are going to do an acoustic thing at Parker Days, which we have to rehearse.
Okay.
So we've been talking set list and this and that, and you know, what'll work, what won't work. And, oh gosh, before I forget, you should tell me about the Intro to Music Business class that you did Saturday. We were saying Saturday there was all this stuff going on. One of them was the music business class, and a young woman, Kelsey
Larcius Miguel.
Okay.
Interesting name.
Kelzana Management is her company.
Yeah.
Which is always what trips me up. I want her name to be Kelsey Kelzana, because like, but it's not. But anyway, we've met and talked some, and she came on to Performance High to teach an Intro to Music Business class. Yeah. How'd it go?
It went great. She was well prepared. Had a nice little presentation to go through.
Yeah.
Left some time at the end for Q&A. I mean, it was exactly what we planned, an intro to music business for people who don't know anything about how the music business works.
Right.
Or worked.
Yeah.
You know, she did do a little history, and then, you know, like, here's things that have changed from, you know, old music industry to new music industry, because a lot changed when we went from physical media to streaming, and then, you know, I guess some more changed, like, through COVID. It really affected the live music industry.
Right.
Obviously. So, you know, it was a short 1 hour class. You know,
but
we
I
just
like,
had some,
yeah.
people got some questions answered.
Yeah. We've talked before. I think that's a good formula of, instead of these half day big things, it's nice to have some shorter.
Yeah, we're
You
getting
know.
some feedback that people want some like low stakes, easy to digest, low commitment education.
Right.
So we are probably moving toward bite-sized classes going forward. Like even if we have a class that's 5 sessions long, you don't necessarily sign up for all 5. You can jump in midstream if you believe you already know what you want to know, or if
Right.
you don't want to learn at all, just come to the third one.
I'm incredibly excited to redesign the recording class that I've taught for years now into, this little bite-sized thing. Like, hey, the first class, we're just going to talk about here's what it is, here's how it works, here's a
Yeah.
microphone, here's a cable. Second class, let's start, moving forward. And again, people can come in at any point.
So they can really fine tune where they put their effort and their time.
Right. And then as a teacher, it gives you so many more chances to kind of like fine tune the course as it's going through with whatever people haven't, gotten involved. It's
Yeah.
not, when you've got just a 3-hour class and you don't know the people who are showing up, or you don't know who all is showing up, you're kind of running and gunning, trying to figure out the room for part of,
Right.
the front of it, like who knows what and where do we need to really talk about, and like what compromises can we make between the person who doesn't know anything and the person who's
Yeah.
here to learn the expert tips,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
where can we kind of, but that,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be,
I think I'm really excited about it. We're going to make some potentially significant changes.
yeah.
In how we run everything. I mean, we'll still have private lessons as the core of what we do, but
Yeah, no, it sounds like so much fun stuff coming up.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's
Think
go
that's
ahead
it.
and leave this one short. Yeah, gosh, I really actually enjoyed that Venezuelan food. I mean, you just had an empanada, which is not, but
Yeah.
but I had something called a pepito, which is like a flatbread, like maybe like a pita sort of kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then wrapped up sort of like a burrito, and it had some sauces and chicken and beef, and then those
The little shoestring French fries.
the little shoestring French fries that come in like a potato chip can, like they're like that, and it had that all over it, and then it was wrapped up like a burrito.
Yeah.
And-
They're on the inside.
Yeah, they were on the
Yeah.
inside. Yeah, and so it was sort of like a sandwich with potato chips on it, but yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. It was
I didn't.
something new.
I didn't. I just needed to eat something.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the dinner we went out to after
Yeah,
after you recorded with
Jenna and
Justin.
her husband.
Justice.
Yeah, right. And then we were passing them on the highway as they were heading back to Wyoming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right. So let's
Anyway.
wrap it up.
yeah, let's do it. And thank you guys so much for listening. We are sponsored as always by Performance High.
Voice and music studio.
I did so much better than you. Did you hear how professional and fast I was being? And then you just. All right.
That's how I sounded when I tried to speak Spanish today. I stumbled on Valeria's name 3 times, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry."
You've had a lot of interaction the past week. You got to recharge a little bit.
Too many people.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thanks, and we'll see you. Bye.
Bye.